G'day, welcome to Todd's Kitchen. The title says it all. Chocolate coconut cake. It is so simple, so easy, so decadent, so delicious. So join me today as I make my version of a chocolate coconut pound cake. Okay, so as this is a chocolate and coconut pound cake, we're going to start with the main flavoured ingredient, and that's our coconut oil. I love this stuff. So into a mixing bowl, I'm going to place in half a cup of our coconut oil. Now if it's cold, make sure it's melted but not hot, because at the moment in Australia we just started winter, so it's very cold. And then to that, a quarter cup of melted butter, and finally 1.5 cups of sugar. And then using a hand or stand mixer, we're going to beat this up on a medium to high speed until it comes up light and fluffy. So it should be about 5 minutes should do it. Okay, so as you can see, it has now changed to a nice light and fluffy texture. So next I've got 3 eggs, and we're just going to pour in 1 egg at a time. We're going to let it mix completely through, and once you don't see that yolk anymore, we're just simply going to add a second egg and then a third egg. If you mix all 3 through at once, it's just going to clump up and ruin the whole mixture. So now we can add our second egg, and then our third egg. Okay, so once your eggs are incorporated, beat it away for another 5 minutes with a hand or stand mixer, and you'll find it's going to get a nice, lovely, fluffy consistency. It's also going to increase in volume as well. Okay, so as you can see, it has pretty much doubled in volume and it's so light and fluffy. Next I'm going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. I like the paste better because it's just so much more concentrated and it really does make a big difference in the taste. So just let that mix through. Okay, so once it's been mixed through, we're going to turn it down to a very low speed. First of all, we're just going to add just some salt. This will help enhance the flavour. And then to that, half a cup of cocoa powder. And just let that gently mix through. At this point, just make sure you scrape it down the sides if you have to. So at this point, all we have to do is add 2 more ingredients. One being self-raising flour, which I'm going to use 2.5 cups worth. Now if you don't have self-raising flour, you can use regular all-purpose flour, but just mix it up with 3/4 tablespoon of baking powder. So on this low speed, we're going to add about a quarter. And I've also got some full cream milk. And this is 2/3 cup worth, so I'm going to add about a quarter of that. And we want to mix it through in 3 lots. So if we add it all at once, it's just going to really ruin this recipe. Trust me, first time I did it, didn't work out. So you really want to add in 3 lots. So we add the second lot of our flour, let that mix through. Then our full cream milk again, and then the remaining amounts of our self-raising flour. Again, make sure it's on low because otherwise you're going to get a dust storm on your hands. So let that mix through. Just before it's completely mixed through, add the milk, the rest of our milk, otherwise it's going to be too firm. And be careful not to overmix it. Once it's just combined, just simply stop, and that's it. You don't want to overmix this. Now I've just got a loaf pan, but you can also use a round cake pan if you like. And I've lined it with some non-stick parchment paper. Just make sure you have the overhang here. It makes it a lot easier to pull the cake out when you're done. So we're just going to place our mixture into our pan. Should still be nice and fluffy because you haven't overmixed it. You see like bits of flour or anything like that, that's actually a good thing because it means that you didn't overmix it. So don't worry if you've got those little bits of extra flour mixed in. So I'm just going to try and level it out a little bit. Now, completely optional, but for the final ingredient, I'm going to use some coconut flakes. Now, of course, make sure these are the unroasted type because they're going to roast in the oven. So we're just going to spread those on top. Just adds a little bit of extra texture and flavor to the top of this cake. So just evenly spread them out. And it's kind of like the garnish anyway. So it works out perfectly. And that's it, and now it's ready for the oven. Okay, so we're going to bake this at 160 degrees Celsius or 325 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to bake it low and slow for 70 to 80 minutes. But I like to check mine at 70 minutes first. With a wooden skewer, insert it into the middle. If it comes out clean, it's ready. If not, just bake it for another 10 minutes. Because not all ovens are the same. Okay, so now it's time for the old skewer test. So I've got a wooden skewer, so I'm just going to stick it through the middle. See how it comes out nice and clean? That means it's done. So we just simply take it out of the oven. And I'm just going to place it onto a board and let it cool down for at least 20 minutes in our pan. And after the 20 minutes, we're going to take it out and just place it onto a wire rack for another hour or two to completely cool. And as a side note, I love the toasted coconut on top. It smells delicious and it's going to taste delicious. And just look at how toasty they are too. I can't wait to get stuck into these. Okay, so our cake is completely cooled down and it looks delicious. And I really do love that toasted coconut on top. It adds a lovely texture and taste to this cake. It is simply delicious. So all that's left now is to cut it up into our desired slices. And just look at that, it is cooked perfectly. It's nice and spongy, it's not too dense, not too light, which is great for a pound cake. And that's why it's so important to stagger those last few steps just so everything mixes well. So this is fantastic with a side of cream or by itself. It's completely up to you. Feel free to drizzle some chocolate or caramel. The possibilities are endless. So it's a very easy cake, but it's a very delicious and rewarding cake to make. And it's definitely one of those ones you're going to have in moderation. So make sure you've got plenty of people to share it with. But whether you choose to serve it with some cream or by itself, either way, this chocolate coconut pound cake is going to taste simply delish.